And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Friday, June 5th, 2026. I hope everybody's ready for the weekend, but we've got a few storms to deal with beforehand. In fact, on radar right now, we've got some light rain moving through the FM area, stretching down through Horace and Lisbon area, but thunderstorms developing between Rosse and Fergus moving eastward. Some of those could contain a little bit of small hail. Also, one stronger cell south of Wahpeton as well, and some more thunder showers developing out around just north of New Rockford. All these moving in a general easterly direction. So not a lot of rain for the FM area, just enough to get you a little angry if you washed your vehicle. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel, and we got Justin from Lakes on with us today, too. Welcome, guys.
Hey, absolutely. How you doing?
Good. How about you guys?
Great.
Doing well.
Are we ready for the weekend?
Yeah, I am.
Good deal.
Yeah, it's definitely, and to your point too with the storms. I'm out in Lakes Country today, and it's about ready to roll through here actually as we speak. So
yeah, we've got a little head towards your area for sure, and we're going to see more develop as we head into the afternoon. Now, the afternoon showers and thunder showers, it looks like it's going to favor Lakes Country, not the FM area, but Lakes Country could see a few more of those thunder showers as we head throughout the afternoon. We're reaching a high today right around 80 degrees with northwest winds 5 to 10. Clearing out tonight, a pleasant night down to 58. And then to the start of your weekend, it's going to be on the hot side. We're looking at temperatures on Saturday right around 90. Winds won't be bad out of the south at about 10 to 15. But Sunday, the winds ramp up quite a bit out of the south, gusting up to and just in excess of 30, and we're going to reach highs in the low to mid 90s on Sunday. Chance for storms come in Sunday night, and then another chance as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Next week looks like will be kind of an unsettled week. One of those days, it looks like we are likely to see severe weather, probably either Wednesday or Thursday across the state. And if you're not a fan of the hot weather, which we'll have most of next week, we're going to see much, much cooler weather settling in here for next weekend with highs across the state in the 60s and 70s. So that'll be a nice refreshing break from the 90s that we've got today and tomorrow, I should say, and into the weekend, and a lot of next week, 80s and 90s across the area. So a summer week next week, but then next weekend, it does look like much cooler weather for most of us. It looks like a dry weekend next weekend as well, but just a little bit cooler.
Just disgusting, Dean. Thanks for the horrible news.
You just don't like anything, do you? Man.
I wanted it to be nice and cold on my birthday.
Well, it'll be cooler,
now let me ask you,
right?
let me ask you this, Dean. So one thing that I haven't heard a lot about from you or anybody else in the weather community as of late is humidity. And dew points. So thus far, we've basically had dry. Yesterday might have been the exception. The dew point was a touch in the 60s, but even today it started out that way, and now it's in the 50s. So is some of this hot weather that we're going to have throughout the weekend and next week going to have a lot of humidity with it, or not so much?
Good question. Tomorrow, no. Sunday, you will notice an uptick in the humidity, and most of next week. We're going to have quite a bit of humidity with those dew points in the 60s, and that's going to be more fuel for those thunderstorms as well. I've got an article up on our webpage about how much. Now, the models tend to over-forecast precip. So a couple of those models forecast anywhere between 1 to 3 inches of rain across much of the valley. That's a little excessive. Now, if you get caught under one of those thunderstorms like we did the other night, areas around Morton picked up 2 inches. So if you get caught under any individual thunderstorm, yeah, that's conceivable. But widespread 1 to 3 inches next week, probably not likely. But regardless, it looks like we are in store for some needed rain across parts of the area as we head into next week. So
I can tell you,
you're going to have a bad hair week next week, Justin. Sorry.
So I can tell you, out in Otter Tail County, it's been a nice mix of the warm weather, but also the rain. Like the other night, I was expecting storms, high wind, hail, some of the stuff you were saying. And out here, it was just a steady rain. It wasn't even downpouring, but it wasn't light. It was just steady for the whole night. And then, of course, now we've had the temperatures the past few days, and so might get some more little rain today, and obviously some coming up. But it seems like it's being spaced really, really well. In fact, I pinged Bridgette a couple times on text and saying, what the crops look like out here. That there was somebody I know that already did an alfalfa cut, and some of that stuff, and obviously the corn and other things are just kind of starting to pop right now. I'm sure these warm temps are helping that.
Yeah, and now the wind that we're gonna have for the latter half of the weekend, we all know that dries things out pretty quick. So thankfully we'll have some rain quickly following that for most of next week. Now, if you have outdoor plans next week, I know I've had quite a few emails of people wanting to know, hey, we got to get this hay going. Are we going to have 3-4 days of dry weather? And unfortunately, I don't see it. Not next week. We might get a stretch that Friday through next weekend and possibly into that Monday. So the very end of next week into next weekend and early into that next week, we might get that stretch of 4 to 5 days. But next week, no, we're not going to see any stretch of dry weather that's going to last that long.
And higher humidity won't allow it to dry out once it's wet and laying down.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're going to have the humidity coming in next week as well. But at least we're getting some precip with it as well. But for the rest of the afternoon, again, just watch out for if you have outdoor plans, especially in Lakes Country. You could see some stronger storms, maybe some small hail. We're not expecting severe storms, but don't be surprised if a couple of those storms pop off some small hail with them.
Well, next week is Ag Tech Week, and there'll be a lot of things happening across the entire Fargo-Moorhead area. It starts out on Monday with Bushel Buddy Seed Conference put on by Bushel. They're the group in town that is the masterminds, you might say, behind all of the apps that local elevators use when it comes to your assembly sheets, your grain buying. They even have the Bushel Buddy Seed wallet, and so they can be doing cash transactions for you in there as well, whether it's bringing in dollars from your grain elevator or making payments back out. So things kick off with Bushel. Tuesday morning will be the Midwest Ag Summit put on by the Fargo-Moorhead Area Chambers of Commerce. That'll be out at the fairgrounds from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Great lineup of speakers for that event. That afternoon is the National Science Foundation Ag Tech Engine, and they have a open house, if you will, down at Crooked Lane School. That is by Colfax. And you can see what they are planning on doing for the summer when it comes to bringing new ag tech items, startups, etc., to the farm and actually working with the farmer, doing that research on a large scale, not just something that's more of a trial or downsized scale. So those are just the first couple of days. Thursday, I think one thing that is a great idea is the Beef Commission is extending May is Beef Month into the month of June. And so on June 11th, that's next Thursday, in partnership with the Barley Council and Food Network chef Justin Warner, they are hosting the Smoke, Sear, and Sip. It's learning the art of beef and beer pairing in Fargo. It is an interactive afternoon, live cooking demonstrations, curated beef and beer pairings, and you can sign up for a free ticket. And you can do that at Eventbrite under Smoke, Sear, and Sip. If you're curious, want to get signed up and don't know where to look for it, you can always just email me, ag@flagfamily.com. Happy to direct you to the right places for that. And again, questions throughout the day, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. After the livestock market report from the American Ag Network, we're going to be joined by Gregg Hanson with Hanson Agri Commodities for Market Uncovered. Let's hear what's happening in the grain commodities market with him. Thanks for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Ag Director Bridgette Readel, and I'm joined by my guest host today, Justin from the Lakes. And we are joined by our guest for Market Uncovered with Gregg Hanson of Hanson Agri-Commodities. Gregg, how did the week go with the news of the New World Screwworm? I feel like there was some big changes in the cattle market.
Yeah, it turns out it was more of a sell the rumor, buy the fact. When you look in the previous times, every time we heard a rumor that maybe we had that screwworm here, we were always down limit, fats and feeders both. And lo and behold, surprise, we're higher. And I think, we knew it was getting close. It was 75 miles, and then it was 50 miles, and then it was 30 miles. And, I think the market kind of factored some of that in already. And the fact that it finally showed up 50 miles inside the U.S., I think if you just look out flat out black and white fundamentals, if we have it here, some cattle will die. You can't eat those cattle. So, I mean, it'll tighten up supplies minimally, but it will tighten supplies. So the fear is always the headline factor. This isn't mad cow. So what will Mrs. Consumer do? Will she continue to buy beef? Mexico's had it for how long, and they keep selling beef around the world. So it shouldn't be an issue. The one thing to think about, though, is, like, say, when we're talking headline risk, if for some reason, heaven forbid, a human gets it and dies from it, that could be the issue. But otherwise, as long as we can keep it under control, find it, it really shouldn't affect the meat side at all. It should be more a function of just we'll have less animals to work, and it'll just tighten up our supplies.
And tightening supplies will mean a slightly higher price when we're buying beef at the grocery store, et cetera, which we've already been into. And it's not going to have an immediate impact. We're not going to see beef prices jump $1 a pound at the store right now.
No, I think the drought and the dry weather and the fires have a bigger deal to do than that screwworm will today. We will not open up that border anytime soon. One thing that could be an issue and it's minor. I mean, would Canada say, all right, now that you have it, we don't want any feeder cattle, any live animals from you? That's such a minimal amount. It's not that big a deal. I really think that just the movement of cattle due to the fires and the drought, maybe moving things a little early. I'm more concerned about that. And actually, because of some of that stuff, I'm a little concerned about we know we were rebuilding this herd slowly over the last 6 months or so. Have we lost everything we gained because some of these breeding animals, whether they were cows or replacement heifers, did they go to slaughter because here again people ran out of grass and hay to feed them? I'm a little more concerned about that than I am the screwworm, the way this thing's acting today.
Me too.
Greg, question for you on the screwworm. Right now, what are you forecasting for? What kind of a hit that the inventories might take? I mean, is it 2%, 5%, not that much, more?
It's negligible, to be honest. We know that some animals will get it and will die, but you're talking, they found 2 calves. It's not like hoof and mouth where they're going to wipe out an entire herd if one of them has it. I do believe that, the last time we had screwworm in the U.S., it was Florida. They found it in some deer 10 years ago. Otherwise, you got to go back to the 1970s since we've had it in any of our livestock industry. I truly believe our animal husbandry industry is way better than it was back then. And there's enough eyeballs out here looking for this stuff that we'll probably lose more wildlife than we will actually lose livestock.
Yeah, because we remember that this is not just a beef incident. This could happen with hogs as well. And so really, it could happen to any livestock, but yet farmers and ranchers are paying very close attention. That we've had eyes on this for about 18 months right now. So I don't think we're going to be surprised by much of it.
That would be my attitude.
So the grain market, overall, fairly steady this week. I feel like with our corn conditions and how they're being rated right now, they may put a little bit of an impact on the market. I feel like we're seeing a lot of better corn ratings in the traditional Midwest. And if we take those heavy drought areas out, we probably are looking at a decent corn crop for the 2026 growing season.
I think it's kind of the haves and have-nots. Like here in the upper Midwest, I think we're off to a pretty darn good start. Right here in my backyard, I think I'm one of the garden spots. Talked to someone that went down to Des Moines here the other day. He said it looks good all the way, but there are some pockets you got to watch. Northern Illinois, Northern Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. They were wet and cold late, and they got mudded some of that in. So I think there's some spots we got to watch. If some adverse weather shows up, those are the areas to maybe kind of take a look at it. Yeah, there are some pockets where you might hear, yeah, some early corn that doesn't look real great. Maybe, but I think it's every area has that. But I think when you're trying to talk a big area could have an issue, we want to look out there. Here in the northwestern corn belt, I think we're off to a pretty darn good start, to be honest. Markets did get beat up here on the corn, especially here now for the last 2 weeks on some fund liquidation. It feels like it's gotten overdone. Weather, it was warm and damp. That's perfect for raising crops. We did see that the weather for the 11 to 15 day window, so 2 weeks out, kind of cool, turning cool, and maybe a little dry here in the upper Midwest. It's not perfect, but it's still not bad. But it is a change, so maybe the models are starting to change things a little bit. I mean, you're just 1 week of throwing some hot and dry in here to getting a big chunk of this back. Weather is still, I think, the biggest variable when it comes to the grain markets today. That's probably half of our trade right there.
That'll make a
Greg,
big difference for a lot of areas.
Is everybody in at this point for corn that's planting for it, or is it 90%, or where are we at?
I think we're virtually planted, to be honest.
Okay.
There were some rumblings that maybe up here in the northern valley of the Dakotas that maybe we added a few corn acres, but then I heard some chatter yesterday that you get elsewhere, like these areas we talked about, northern central Illinois and India, maybe they cut back corn acres a little bit. I don't get too worked up on the acres. I really think yield is a lot bigger deal going forward here. And, like I said, conditions today look good, but, you're just 2 weeks hot and dry from changing things in a hurry.
Well, and on the yield, on the yield question that you were mentioning, you had said, that cool and dry period, maybe a week or so out. I'm assuming cool and dry, we're going to be, better than hot and dry, right? Rather, if there was a choice.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we were looking at hot and wet. Well, that's perfect. Warm and wet's ideal for raising this crop. But if it is going to turn, so here in the upper Midwest, the whole Midwest will be cool. It looks like in that 11 to 15 day window. The very south, the Delta, around the Gulf, they're going to be a little wetter. Up here will be a little drier. Well, cool and dry is better than warm and dry. So it's not a perfect forecast, but it's not bad necessarily.
And we wait to see if there's some sort of black swan event like we had last year, where there was all of a sudden late season southern rust and other items that could all of a sudden put a great big impact on us. So let's just see what that looks like as the summer rolls on. Hopefully we don't see anything like that coming forward. Gregg, a pleasure to speak with you every Friday for Market Uncovered. Meanwhile, where can people reach out to you after the show?
Well, you can always give me a call at 507-338-6433. You can check out our Facebook page or check us out at hanson-ag.com.
Much appreciated, and we look forward to visiting with you next week. Next up, we're going to talk with Darren Hefty. They have some upcoming youth scouting classes and scholarships we want to touch on. We'll be right back. For those of you who are paying attention today on the live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities, you can be picking up all sorts of little tidbits through the video, and you can see us on YouTube, Facebook, and Acres TV. We are very proud to be one of the participants of Acres TV. We have our own channel. We're pretty much the only news and weather that you can find there. And that app is brought to us by Ag PhD Media. And we're joined with Darren Hefty today, who is part of Ag PhD Media, as well as Hefty Seed Company. June is a very busy month for you guys, Darren. The 27th is kind of kicking off your summer scouting season for youth. Tell us more.
Well, I'm really excited to host the Ag PhD Scouting and Scholarships event. It's coming up the last Saturday in June, June 27th, and we're already getting pre-registrations from really all over. It's really been impressive. I think we're already expecting at least 30 different schools that are sending kids here, and of course, you don't have to be affiliated with the school yet. You could just be heading to one next fall, and maybe you aren't even decided yet where you're going to go. But we've got an event called Scouting and Scholarships that we're giving away over 100 college scholarships to students getting into agriculture. And if you're curious about, hey, what technologies are out there? What are some things that I'd be doing in the field down the road for a career? That's a great idea to come to our event. We're going to be out in fields and showing you new technologies, new ways of doing things, and give you some skills you could bring home today and work on with your family or others in your area. So that's coming up June 27th. You can check out all the details at agphd.com.
When you're teaching that school, that day, that scout school, what are some of the things that you touch on folks? Are we kind of advanced as far as crop staging is concerned? Are we doing some things when it comes to soil science, potentially crop disease in corn and soybeans? What does that look like, Darren?
Yeah, all of those things. And it's going to be everything from just, okay, weed identification and how many growing points are on weeds and how do we determine making the right herbicide recommendations to control weeds, or what are some cultural practices we get them as well. It's going to be soil management from fertility, from the fertility aspect. How do we soil sample? Where do we go to get the right data here? And then what are we looking for on those reports? This is something that we're seeing a lot of young people getting into agriculture that are learning this end of the business. And for farmers that are my age or older, that may not be our big area of focus in the past. That, wow, if our kids come back to the operation or new people that we're hiring on come in with knowledge on, hey, how do I adjust these fertility rates and set up variable rate maps for my farm? That could be thousands and thousands of dollars more value for the farm. And I know this coming out of college. I didn't have any equity to bring into the farm operation. I didn't have any cash, but I did have some knowledge and I was willing to work hard. And that's kind of some of the things that we're showing kids. Hey, here's what you can look for out in fields. Here's some things that your family or maybe others that you might work for don't know yet, or maybe aren't the strongest in, and you can bring to the operation.
Question for you, Darren, on the scholarships.
Sure.
What's the criteria for what you're looking for there for those 100?
Well, it doesn't matter where you're from or who you are or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're going to a college, a university, or a tech school. If you're heading to a school this fall, you're eligible, and you just need to be at our field day or our event. That's it. You have to be in person. So no mail-in ballots here or anything like that. But it's just a fair drawing at the end. And it's kind of interesting because you see schools like NDSU, for example, sends a lot of kids down here. And so there's going to be a pretty good chunk of scholarships that end up at NDSU. But there's going to be plenty that end up in Minnesota or Kansas or Ohio or Iowa as well. So you're going to be people there from all over.
That's and awesome. All majors?
Yes. And what's kind of interesting about this, I'm amazed at some of the folks that say, I'm considering ag, but I'm going into business. I know that will get me anywhere. And that's fine. Now, you don't necessarily have to be an agronomy major or anything like that. We had a student come from Cal Berkeley who was studying marine science, and she was kind of disheartened with the program. She said, I'm into this 3 years and I'm thinking of switching to ag. Can I come to your event and learn more about ag? And I said, absolutely. And wow, she was very smart, as you would imagine, and kind of passionate about agriculture already. So that was kind of cool.
That's an awesome background, because I've always told interns, you have to decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So this is truly a way to
Yes.
figure that out in a one-day event. Is there an age range? Do you have high school kids who are coming that day as well
There
as those going to
there are going to
college?
be. That's a
Okay.
great point, Bridget. There's going to be young people there, maybe even 7 or 8 years old, that tag along with older brothers or sisters, that kind of thing. And that's totally fine. And I think we've definitely had a few people in their 90s that have come as well, just to see what all these young people are doing or bring a grandkid or whatever the case may be. And so there's no age limit, it's all free. And if you want to come and learn, no matter what age you are, that's great. But to be eligible to win the scholarships, you got to be going to a school next fall.
Boy, that's a great opportunity because you get to learn for the day. You have the possibility of more scholarships as well at the end of it. So, do you want to give a little plug as well for what's coming up in July on the farm? We want people to be
Oh,
thinking ahead about
absolutely.
that too.
Yeah, the Ag PhD Field Day is coming up the last Thursday in July. So that's July 30th this year. And we're really excited about that. The event has been growing each year. We expect to have 10,000 or more farmers there that day. It's a free event, free parking, free admission to the event, food's free, everything's free. We just want to say thanks to all the folks out there who have supported us over the years with Ag PhD. We've been on the air now for almost 30 years, if you can believe that. But one of the cool things about Ag PhD Field Day is we do get a lot of companies that are working with us on research plots. And so we're going to take you literally right through our research plots to show you new traits that we're looking at, new herbicides, fungicides, new new crop nutrition products, lots of different naturals. We get so many questions about these beneficial microbes and amino acids and plant growth hormones and those kinds of things. We'll be showing a bunch of those at our field day too. So you can see all the plots in the field here from great speakers. It's just a really fun day. And again, with that event and also our scouting and scholarships, you can find all the details at agphd.com. And we'd encourage you to pre-register there.
Well, this may sound odd, but normally you're the one doing the interviewing, Darren. How is it to be in the hot seat for a change?
It's fun. I like being on the other end of things. That's all good. One thing that I would say though is we've been missing the rains, and I know you guys talk about weather too, and that's something. If you could just maybe swing a little bit of that rain through our way, that would be great. Our farm's kind of dry right now, but stuff still looks good. But feels like late July already with the weather we're getting.
I'd love to send you some rain, but those storm chaser guys, I don't need them.
No, I agree. And we see some of these things go by and it's like, oh, somebody got 5 inches of rain all at one shot. Well, we probably don't need that or hail or tornadoes or any of that kind of stuff. But boy, a nice couple inches of rain would be really welcomed.
Well, the good news is we should get some. It's just going to be. It sounds like it's going to be hit or miss over the next number of days, and so yeah, you may get some, you may not. Unfortunately, I don't know about any
Yeah, and
widespread
that's how it's
event.
been. You go a half an hour north of our farm or a half an hour south, they've got rain, but we just been in this little stretch that's been missing it so far. So hopefully it comes around to us down the road here. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the fields. Guys are out spraying, and we've got crops of all sizes. Gosh, you get across North Dakota, there's tiny little crop. There's some that's already got a little good size to it, so they must have hit the weather just right to get everything in. It's a really fun time getting out looking at fields.
Timely rain. That's what we need to get those little crops to be big crops, because I don't need to see us getting 2 inches of rain every week. That actually drags down our
Yeah.
yield. I'm okay with the timely stuff.
Yes,
Uh,
sounds good to me.
Darren, thank you for joining us so very much today. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
one
Jerry.
more reminder for folks who want to participate, if you have students who want to be at the Scouting and Scholarships on June 27th, and that will be at the farm at Baltic, South Dakota with the Hefty Seed Company, get on their website. If you have questions because you couldn't find it, you can email me, ag@flagfamily.com, and we'll help you out with it. When we return, Justin and I want to talk about some of those headlines that are out there and whatever else might be on our minds. There is never a better time to check on your cybersecurity for your farm or agribusiness, and you can do that with techsupport.farm. You can go out to the fence check assessment, take a little look, and see if you're getting the best security that you could have or if improvements could be made. Check that out at techsupport.farm. Justin, so we have a chance to talk about some headlines. Anything on your mind you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, just to touch on the jobs report that came out today. So the May jobs report, in case everybody didn't hear, blew past expectations, right? So it basically was almost double. They had expected, actually, it was more than double. They had expected 88,000, and it was 172,000 jobs in May. Now, some of the skeptics out there might say, hey, they always kind of write those down or increase them, but usually if it's a really whopper number like that, they might write it down. Well, what was interesting with this, and even kind of the stronger surprise, was that March was revised up 29,000, which landed then at 214,000 jobs. April, same thing, was also revised up by 64,000 to now 179 or 179,000. So again, it's been a strong number of months. I want to just point this out because we hear all this, negative talk about the oil and so forth, and that's all bad, right? And the fertilizer and everything else. But there is some bright spots, and the fact that we're humming along on jobs is, I think, a really good thing.
Well, just remember there'll be some that'll say, don't worry, I've already got 2 or 3 of those jobs, so I'm adding to that report as well.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
we exchanged some discussions about headlines earlier before we got on air today. And, one of the things that I sent you was Ted Turner, irregardless of his politics, right? I don't always think the best of celebrities. Years back, when he started CNN, it was new, it was cutting edge. But he was always a mega landowner and a conservationist in the background. Were there any things in that article that surprised you?
Not a ton. I know a fair amount about Ted Turner, but yeah, I would argue the same thing. Not on the politics side, but not. Just kind of looking again here. But I don't think there was anything that really shocked. What about you? Did anything really stand out for you?
I was really impressed with the fact, well, first of all, he started buying land just on a very rapid scale. And by the time of his death, he had property in Argentina that had really grown in size. He also had land in multiple states that included New Mexico, South Dakota, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, just areas that not everybody realized. He was the largest landholder in the U.S. 4 times prior to 2010. And then at one point in time, he was actually the largest privately owned bison herd in the world. He owned 11% of the world's bison. When North Dakota was looking at bringing the bison processing plant to New Rockford for North America, Ted Turner was a big part of that happening because he needed a place for his bison to be processed too.
Yeah, that was probably the bigger one that I was surprised. I guess I knew about the land, and how much he owned, and I guess I figured he's putting something on that, right? Kind of a fun fact outside of Ted Turner. Maybe we'll have to talk about this on another show. But so everybody thinks about bison, right? Raising him, like what he's doing and so forth, and or just and obviously North Dakota. I heard a whole podcast about this thing in Minneapolis, of all things, in the park system down in Minneapolis. They have introduced bison. I'm not kidding. So it was pretty interesting. There's 8 of them that are out in Spring Lake Park, and I just thought it was fascinating that, like, of all places, you wouldn't think of them in Minneapolis or the park system down there, but they're not going to be slaughtered or anything like that. And I have more detail on it, but I just thought I'd throw that up. Kind of fun fact.
Hold on, like they're just randomly wandering around the park with all the spectators?
Yeah, they're fenced, obviously, and so it's interesting. And I might even have this guy on sometime, or suggested. Although it's funny, they're weird about doing media outside of Minneapolis. That's what I heard on one of my friends' radio shows. But essentially, they built this because obviously you got to think of everything, right? Build a fence. Well, if you're building in the park system, you have other animals to contend with, right? Like deer. So you want to make that high enough, but not too high that the deer can't get over, because they need to still go back and forth. The inverse of that would be the bottom too. You can't build that fence all the way down, otherwise rabbits and other things can't get through. So there was a lot of thought put into this, but yeah, and I don't know the exact all reasoning on why they introduced them, but they say that was a natural habitat for them at one point, and they wanted to reintroduce them, albeit in a small number.
Oh, okay, hold on here. First of all, when I tell you to put down the chickens, like the backyard chickens, I also would like to reiterate, don't pet the fluffy cows because these guys don't like it. Okay, they're
Yeah.
bison. Now, just a real side note back to Ted Turner real quick. All of the work that he has done with bison actually helped him launch the research and implementation on bison and studies of them with South Dakota State University and their Excellence Center for Bison Studies. So, you know, they were the Great Plains roamers. They are still a star attraction that people love to see. And really, our work around here, as far as bison for nutrition and how we raise them, has continued to grow. And Ted Turner was a part of that. I do have to give him kudos for it.
Oh yeah. No, he was a big conservationist. So yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So when you think about incredible traditions, the bison have been on the plains for thousands of years. Now I'm going to switch gears literally to the Indy 500. The Indy 500 ran on Sunday, May 24th, and a long-standing tradition has been drinking milk in the winner's circle. It started back in 1936 when Lewis Mayer asked for a glass of buttermilk after he got out of his car. For those of you who've ever drank buttermilk, that would not be my first choice. I think I might want to go with Cass Clay's Swiss Miss chocolate milk myself. That's just me. But since 2004, milk has been handed to the race winner, and that person gets to chug milk from an Indiana dairy farm. This year, milk was handed out to folks who were watching the race as well so they could participate. I don't know, on a hot May day, would you be ready to chug a little bit of milk to go along with the race?
See, I'm a big milk guy. I love milk, and so yeah, I would say absolutely, it's good for any time, especially on a hot day.
The former dairy farmer's daughter and me would be insistent on us having to have some milk at some point in time. So yes, I do think it's
And
a good idea.
I heard you talking about this the other day about whole milk and unpasteurized on the program, and I know Addison. He's probably crawling under his desk right now, but I would actually try some of that. So I'm not. I know Dean was like razzing him a bit. So
I won't lie, I got put in like a trance state when chocolate milk was
yeah.
mentioned, and I have plans for after work now. I'm going to the store to go buy some.
And there's a big difference between, like you're saying, raw milk and what's pasteurized. If you're not familiar with the taste of raw milk, it will surprise you because you're getting the taste of directly whatever that cow ate. So was she out on grass? Did she have corn? Did she get into the wild garlic patch? All those things might affect the taste of the milk you get when it comes to raw milk. So it could differ just a little bit every time you drink it. I'm not sure if I want garlic in my milk.
Yeah, I might draw the line on.
Do want to highlight that there was a new report out from the Institute for Feed Education and Research that highlights U.S. livestock's dependence in China on key vitamins and amino acids that are used in animal feed. When we talk about China and all the things that have been disruptive as far as tariffs and trade, etc., without that lysine supplementation for livestock, it can take substantially longer for us to bring hogs to market and would reduce the amount of meat we're able to produce per animal. Just a little tidbit I'd picked up earlier today. So when we think about all the things that are going on in trade with China and around the world, we sometimes forget how impactful it can be on our livestock as well. And so, yes, I just wanted to make sure people thought about that as we need lysine when it comes to hog production. That's a big part of what we do. All right, Justin, what else is on the top of the mind before I throw more headlines at you?
I was looking at. I saw just a quick blurb. It wasn't on our list, but essentially about some of these agricultural groups that were calling for an end to the countervailing duties on phosphate fertilizers. Or did you catch that headline before a little bit? I can.
Yeah, because they're thinking that there's some collusion, et cetera, that's going on with those types of things.
With Mosaic and Simplot. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think that's a pretty big topic for us to take on one day because there'll be a lot of pieces to it.
Yeah, it's just interesting with all the talk with fertilizer right now, and essentially, this just in a nutshell with this headline that 65 of these state and national groups got together, including the National Corn Growers Association, sent a letter to the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and was asking him to end these countervailing duties placed against the phosphate fertilizers imported from Morocco, so that we can kind of ease the pain on the farmers. And from that perspective, I'm 100% for it, right? I'd say as much as we can ease the pain right now for farmers, let's do it, even if just temporary for something like this.
Love that you're reading the headlines and it promotes so much more discussion for us. So the next time that you're co-hosting with me, we'll have a chance to bring them up. Thanks to Justin from the Lakes for joining. Stay tuned because Jay Thomas is coming up next.